So, late night video, crazy day, but some of you guys like these late night videos. Mike McDaniel, Chris Grier met with the media for the end of the year presser, and we're here from some of the players. So we're gonna go over these things, talk about them, and see how all that shebang goes. What is up, Finn fans? The Miami Dolphins end of the year presser. It's depressing because we don't want it to be the end of the year presser, but it is what it is. We're at this point. So Mike McDaniel and Chris Grier sat down, answered some questions. I'm going to go over them, give you my thoughts and opinions on them. Also, some of the players talk to the media. I'm going to give you my thoughts and opinions on what they had to say. But real quick, before we jump into that, the Dolphins have signed 8 players to reserve/future contracts. So essentially, these 8 players are like young, unknown players, but we want to keep them and we don't want to potentially lose them in free agency. So we're going to keep them, sign them to future contracts and all that stuff. So it is linebacker Quentin Bell, cornerback Ethan Bonner, who actually made a few good plays this season, tight end Tanner Connor, tackle Ryan Hayes, our 7th-round pick, offensive lineman Chasen Hines, defensive tackle Brandon Peely, glad he was brought back, wide receiver Braylon Sanders, and wide receiver Anthony Schwartz, the speedster that we brought in. So again, these guys are essentially on the Dolphins roster for future contracts. So we're going to start with Chris Grier and Mike McDaniel presser, and then we'll go into what the players said. But I will say this, just to give you a little taste. Tyreek Hill had a message for fans after their playoff exit, and he said, F everybody else, it still fins up. And I think what he means by that with the eyes is the fact that I think it's Margaritaville patting the fins up. So the Dolphins have to change their saying of hashtag fins up because they don't own it anymore. And they're going to come out with a new one, which is pretty dumb. So it is what it is. How do you not get the copyright for fins up? It's so dumb. So this is what Chris Grier had to say. He says, our goal is to keep as many players as we can. They both earn the right to be free agents. Dolphins GM Chris Grier on Christian Wilkins and Connor Williams. He bet on himself and it paid off for him, Chris Grier said about Wilkins. That is not something you want to hear. He said the same thing about Mike Gesicki, that he had the right to be a free agent. It's not what you want to hear. Now, with Connor Williams, they might not re-sign him right away because of his injury and his rehab time and all that stuff. So that's something that might happen maybe after June 1st when they get more money. But saying that he bet on himself and it paid off and all that stuff, they might not let Christian Wilkins. They might not re-sign him. Dolphins GM Chris Grier said the team will maintain communication with Christian Wilkins after making him an offer in the preseason that he said the organization thought was fair. So, again, they're going to let him test free agency. And they are going to see what he gets and see the offers he gets and then go from there. Chris Grier on the rebuild since 2019. He says it's a little mixed. This is year 2 with Mike. We won 9 games last year, 11 this year. He ain't wrong. A lot of people have said, and I've heard a lot of people say, Brian Flores would have done with this team. But here's the thing. Brian Flores wouldn't probably have wanted Tyreek, or he wouldn't have wanted to bring in some of these guys because he had opportunities to bring in Lindsey, the center, and all those guys. And he had different style and he wanted different players. So we can't really sit back and say, oh, Flores would have done so much with these guys, because he had, 3 years to bring in these high caliber players, and he didn't. It's just not his style. So can't really say it, but it's going to be an even more different team next year, and that's a video that I'm going to talk about. The goal is to have him long-term playing at a high level. Dolphins GM Chris Grier said of Tua Tagovailoa. He said organization has stayed in touch with his agent, although not talking contract with Tua during the season. Grier not willing to talk about the number the Dolphins have in mind with Tua. Top quarterback last offseason got upwards of $50 million in annual average annual value. I am not. Tua has not earned $50 million. And like I said in yesterday's video, he put out great numbers. But at the end of the day, those great numbers equated to nothing. He, to me, has not earned a $50 million plus year contract until he wins a playoff game, until he wins the games that we need him to. And again, it's a team sport, and I understand that. But if you watched how he played in the film and the passes he missed and the interceptions, it's just he's not there yet. Will he be? We will see. Right now, I'm not concerned about what will be in March salary cap-wise. Chris Grier said, Mike, Brandon, and I will have a lot of discussions, and we'll talk to Stephen Ross. And what he means by that is Brandon Shore is kind of the guru of the money. He is who makes up the contracts. He's the one who moves the money around and, hey, you know, we'll resign this guy and restructure and yada, yada. So Mike McDaniel, Chris Grier, Brandon Shore are going to talk, and then they'll go to Stephen Ross and be like, hey, we can get so-and-so money, but you need to sign some checks and signing bonuses, because signing bonuses will save cap space, but then Stephen Ross has to pay out of his pocket. Grier seemed unconcerned about being $40 million over the cap, says was to clear space. We're not really concerned. I already said that. We'll try to keep as many players as we can. He'll talk to Ross about that. Successful season, difficult question. We want to win the AFC East and win playoff games, and we fell short of the goal. There were a lot of injuries, Chris Grier said. And he's not wrong. Now, it's not an excuse, because we've seen teams with injuries make it and then do well. But you can't look at the Dolphins and not think how different the team would be if half of the injuries we had didn't happen, and we had a normal injury quota on the season, because what the Dolphins dealt with was not normal. We went into the playoff game not having Chubb, Phillips, Baker, Holland, 5. And I think Deshaun Elliott at one point, 6. So half of our starters weren't out there. Our starters being Ramsey, Sealer, and AVG also was interested. That's 7. Ramsey, Sealer, and Wilkins, and then Cater were your starters. We had 4 on defense. Offense is no excuse. You were missing 2 offensive linemen. Outside of that, everyone was healthy. No excuse. But the defensive side, I think it would have been a little bit different. Dolphins don't feel strength and conditioning staff has any shortcomings with regard to a flood of injuries. We feel very strong about our group, is among the best in the NFL. It was our year to have injuries. It's part of football. I hate that saying. Who said that? It's just a horrible saying. But I will say this again. A lot of people want to blame the strength and conditioning coaches, but then all the strength, because how many players got hurt this year? Aaron Rodgers got hurt. Deshaun Watson got hurt. Like, just all of these players. Nick Chubb got hurt. Myles Garrett got hurt. Like, I can raffle down the list of all these players that got hurt. It was just a bad year for injuries. Mike McDaniel on his play calling, and if you continue to do it, you're always assessing things, but don't want to make decisions right after the season based on emotion. Nothing off the table ever. We failed to reach our goal this year. Play calling doesn't live outside of that. Give it to Darrell Bevel. You know, we have our offensive coordinator I think he's interviewing for the Panthers job this week, and our linebacker coach is interviewing for Titans. But if we lose our offensive coordinator, give it to Darrell Bevel. Let him call some plays. He's shown that to be a very good offensive coordinator. Asked if Fangio will return in 2024. Mike responds that all these questions are fair, but we're still grieving through the process as a coaching staff, so no opinion given on Vic. Hopefully he doesn't. I want Vic Fangio back one more year. I want Vic Fangio back in a year where he can add more the players that will fit his defensive scheme and not so much inherit defensive players that for a different defensive scheme. We'll see. More on that. He says, I'm communicating with players. Then we'll get together as a staff and undress the season in a painful but productive way on Vic Fangio's return. Grier quibbled with the notion that O-line play fell off after Connor Williams' injury, declined to say if he and Wilkins are prioritizing both, but declined to say if he and Wilkins are priorities. Oh, sorry, Connor Williams and Wilkins, but praised both of them. That's not good. Assessing why 1-6 versus playoff teams. A narrative's a narrative, and you have to look at it between the eyes. We can't be defensive. We didn't get the results that we wanted. We feel good about our process, but everything gets evaluated. That's a very PC answer. Give me why did we suck against playoff teams? Why? And it's not even that we sucked. Why were we so undisciplined against playoff teams? Because how many of the Chiefs game, the second Bills game, those two games were winnable. The Bills were making so many mistakes, we could have taken advantage of it, and we were home. The Chiefs game, our offense was stagnant in the first half. Why? Why? Because it wasn't we got beat, it was we beat ourselves. Why? And to say, we can't be defensive, we didn't get the results we wanted, we feel good about the process. So we shouldn't feel good about the process because the process was doo-doo. Concerned about Tua in bad conditions, a reason for downfield passes. He says no. The type of defense KC played, we missed a guy short. Our one touchdown was over the top of a safety. I wish we would have gotten more opportunities. We did have some downfield stuff. They played cover 2. They had 2 safeties over the top. You were going to beat them deep. And they did still in the ball. Got a good defensive front, and they stopped the run, and then we abandoned the run, and you guys know how the rest panned out. Grier said he loves the team's core, but we will look different every year. 30 to 40% of your roster changes. Yes, 100%. It's going to change. It needs to change. There's so many aspects. Linebacking core. I'm like giving you spoilers for so many videos I got planned, like team needs and this and that. But yeah, it's going to change. Grier on having the NFL's longest playoff win drought because, yes, it's not just the NFL. It's all sports. We're going to keep chipping wood. We have a good roster. We know we'll keep adding. The team will look different. Very PC answer. Robert Hunt. Mike and Butchberry did a fantastic job with offensive line, who worked really hard. He's earned the right to be a free agent. I hate when they say that. We did talk during the season. We would like these guys to get here if they want to be here. From what I'm hearing, Robert Hunt's going to be back. That's what I'm hearing. Grier on Xavier Howard on if Chris hopes X will be back in 2024. We'll go through this process like we do every player individually. He ain't coming back. And I'll tell you when we get to that aspect. Dolphins coach Mike McDaniel and Tua Tagovailoa. I just want to see him make sure the curve continues to be exponential in his growth. And I get what he means by that. Because I showed you in the stats in yesterday's video, he has gotten better as, year 1 to year 2 to year 3 to now year 4. He has gotten better. Curve continue to go up, not start to dip down. But like I said in yesterday's video, there's aspects to his game that he needs. Like, I'm watching Josh Allen getting pressured. Again, different quarterback. But I'm watching Josh Allen getting pressured, and I'm watching him just run to his right and throw across his body for, it's a different style of quarterback, but he's constantly looking for open people. I watched Baker Mayfield do it. I watched Jordan Love do it. I watched C.J. Stroud do it. When the play breaks down, and Tua has shown the ability to do it, but he doesn't do it enough, nor does he do it at the end of the year, constantly look for somebody. Advance the play. Miami wants Hunt back. Sounds like the feeling is mutual based on his comments in the locker room. Whether both sides can agree on a number remains to be seen. That's what I'm saying. Mike on Tua, he's going to be a zone read. Is he going to be a zone read option quarterback? That's a question mark, but I think he's developing in buying extra time when necessary. It's all about progression. I think he just needs to continue to do what he's been doing in terms of progressing. I just talked about that, but we'll see. McDaniel on his coaching staff and any changes planned at this point. He says, I was very happy with the way our coaching staff responded to what happened through the course of the year. I'm good with the coaching staff. Again, injuries took a huge toll, not having Jalen Waddle out there. And you guys got to realize something, because he still broke 1,000 yards. So it's like one of our only receivers to have 3 1,000-yard receivings starting his career as a Dolphin. He came into the season injured. He was never 100%, and he never looked like himself. Now, there was the few games where he went off. I think it was the game where Hill was out. Jets game? Yeah, it was the Jets game. But he was never 100%, and we noticed he was never 100%. But yeah, that's kind of what they talked about. Now, let's talk about what the players said, and then I'll give you kind of a roundabout idea of what's going on. With 3 years and $43 million left, this is from Barry Jackson. $43 million left on his contract, but none of it is guaranteed. Cornerback Xavier Howard said Monday he's unsure if he'll be a Dolphin in 2024. It's up in the air, Howard said. My 8 years here, I made the best of it. If this year's the last year, I have to say goodbye to some of these guys. I definitely understand. It's part of the business. No matter where I'm going, I'm still going to do my thing. Whatever comes with it, I'm excited about what happens. Does he have a hunch he'll be back? He says, I don't know. What if the Dolphins ask him to take a pay cut from his $15.4 million base salary next season? And then he says, would you do it if your boss asked you to take a pay cut? It's still money at the end of the day. Howard added, my 8 years, I loved it. Whatever happens, I'm with it. But he also said, I'm tired of going to the playoffs and not winning. It's been 8 years, third time going to the postseason. I want to win these games. It was supposed to be a Super Bowl this year. We had the talent. We'll use that as motivation going into next year. Man, if you were on the field, it might have been different, but you weren't. You got hurt. It's not your fault, but still, you got hurt. Then on Robert Hunt, he says, I don't want to get into details about that, essentially, on his agent and stuff, but we'll see where that goes. He said, Miami is the place I want to be, the place I want to raise my family, and a place I want to help do great things. That stinks, especially 23 years without winning a playoff game. I don't want to be a part of it. The organization is on the right track. He was ranked a top 10 guard by PFF, which he deserves. Now, this one is interesting. Teron Armstead, who is 32, didn't rule out retirement. Asked if he was seriously considering it or is he likely to return. He said, I love the game. I love the game. As an artist once said, the moment you stop having fun with it, it'll be done. It'll be done with it. I'm having a blast. I love what we're building. I'm chasing a ring. That's the only reason I'm playing football. Armstead has 3 years and $40 million left on his contract, but only $5 million guaranteed. What would be the contributing factor about his decision next year? He says the body for sure definitely got to go out and be able to do it at a high level. I'm never going to be one of those players that is going to get my butt whipped, and my kids are getting older. My twins are 11. My son is 6. Want to talk to them. I've never made any decisions right after the season. I talk to God, talk to my kids. That's been an approach to the last 3 off seasons. It will be the same approach. I dealt with a lot this year, probably one of the most challenging years that I've had. I found my stride, my formula late in the season, was able to move better and play the way I accustomed to playing. Here's the thing. Teron Armstead is awesome. He's definitely, I think, eventually going to become a Hall of Famer. Great career. One of the best left tackles. But he even said at some points, he got a little sloppy. And you even saw it against the Kansas City Chiefs. Got a little sloppy. So, like, the question asking him about that is not off base, because the Dolphins need to decide at this point. Even if he comes back, they gotta get a replacement for him, because if it's not this year, it's next year. He's going to retire. The Dolphins have had the same defensive tackle starters for 4 years: Christian Wilkins, Raekwon Davis, and Sealer. Now Wilkins and Davis are 2 months from unrestricted free agency. Davis said the Dolphins and his agent have been communicating, but I have no idea what has been discussed. He said he has no idea if the team wants him back. I'm hoping I'll be here. It's my home. It's my family here. Whatever happens, happens. So there's excitement about entering free agency for the first time. He said, no, I want to be back with my team, this organization. Got no other thoughts, no on no other teams. I want to be here. Davis hopes the troika of himself. What? Wilkins and Sealer with defensive line coach Austin Clark stays for a long time to come. That's big. You've never seen a group stay that long, even 4 years. Some coach, same 3 players that have been together that long. I hope all of us come back. I hope all of us come back. He says again. Austin Clark is on his contract year. Christian Wilkins, I hope we're all back in the same room. That's again, I got so many videos to talk about, but off the top of my head, it depends on how much he wants, because he wasn't that, when Christian Wilkins wasn't out there, it fell off because he wasn't that disruptive. Receiver Chase Claypool, who had 4 receptions in 11 games as a Dolphin, said, "I'm very disappointed. I couldn't help more throughout the year. There were circumstances that didn't allow for that to happen as much as I wanted to. Any disappointment or shortcomings will lead to harder work in the offseason and more intentional focus." He's an impending free agent. I don't see him coming back. Receiver Eric Uzucoleman neck injury that sidelined him most of the season is not career threatening. He will be available next season, which is good. Safety Javon Holland said he won't need surgery on his 2 sprained MCLs that sidelined him for 5 games, including the playoff games. And cornerback Eli Apple said he hopes the Dolphins bring him back. I showed a lot of good things. He also showed a lot of bad things. I don't know if I'm bringing Eli Apple back, but that's all. Like I told you guys, I have so many videos talking about who we should bring back, who we should cut, cap space, all that stuff. I have so much content for you. The Dolphins, I think right now, let me tell you where they're picking when it comes to, because I think it's situated 21. The Miami Dolphins are picking at pick 21. But that's another video I'll do where I look at picks, where we're picking, all that stuff. But overall, very PC answers from Grier and McDaniel. From what I'm hearing from Grier, it looks like Christian Wilkins isn't going to get re-signed. It looks like Connor Williams isn't going to get re-signed. It looks like Robert Hunt is more likely to get re-signed. It looks like they are trying to figure out what to do with Tua. But I'm not. I don't set the market with him. To me, he hasn't earned it yet. What else? You have to really dive deep under what they did, but it's, you don't know. You have no idea what's going on through their heads. But like I said, I have videos planned on team needs. That'll probably come out either this week or next week. I'm making a video just about Mike McDaniel, kind of recapping his year and my thoughts and opinions on that. I got a lot of content tonight. Well, you guys are getting this probably around 12:30. But Tuesday night is the last Hard Knocks. I'm going to make that video. I'm going to talk about that. Then Wednesday, I'm going to do my picks and kind of recap the wild card, which was absolutely nuts. And then more content for you guys. And I think I'm going to go live Friday night for an hour, maybe around 10 o'clock. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. But I might do the Super Bowl, or I might do a playoff game. I haven't decided yet going live. But comment below. Let me know what you think about what they had to say. What would you like to see? And I will see you guys in the next one. But like usual, stay classy. Friends up.